Performance appraisals. Oh my goodness, don't tell me I have to do another performance appraisal. This is the words that you hear over and over and over again from managers. And it doesn't have to be painless. We're going to talk a little bit about what you can do to make it a little less painless as you do your performance appraisals. I'm Carolyn Shockey. I've been in human resources for about 25 years and have found that once you understand the purpose of the performance appraisal and some key things you can do, it makes your life and the life of the employee a lot easier. One of the examples I like to use is imagine that you're trying to teach someone archery. And so the first thing you have to do is you have to teach them the rules of the game. What does a target look like? Does it matter if you hit that target on the outside or the inside? You have to begin to just basically describe the goal of the game. And in the business world, those are performance expectations. They're goals, they're the job description of what you're going to do. The employees also need to know how those arrows are scored. Does it matter whether it hits on the inside or the outside? And that's where performance standards come into place. That's where you describe in that job description exactly what it looks like when it's done right. Following that, the employee typically needs to be trained. You need to learn how to shoot. I don't know if you've ever done archery before. I have when I was a Girl Scout and got some major burns on the inside of my arm by that bow coming back in the string. So you need someone to train you. That's usually your manager, supervisor, another employee. And then lastly, the employees need feedback. So imagine that you are teaching someone archery and you teach them how to aim, you teach them how to shoot, you teach them the rules of the game, but as soon as they shoot, this curtain goes down. And you say, no, you didn't get it just yet. The employee has no idea if they're off to the right, to the left, or if they even hit the target. So it's important to give employees feedback as well in terms of how they're doing their job and what they could do differently. That's one of the purposes of the performance appraisal. It should be ongoing. You shouldn't wait until once a year to do a performance review. Every time there's a monumental thing that the employee does, compliment them on it, share with them, let them know that behavior is what you are expecting. And then there's that performance appraisal that you need to do. And the reason you do this is a lot of companies have requirements and regulations that employees have to be reviewed a certain amount of time, and that fulfills that regulation. The other thing the performance appraisal does is it allows better communication with the employee and the supervisor. You're on the same page, and that's important. It gives employee feedback. It also identifies training needs. Your employee may say, you know, I really enjoyed doing those spreadsheets when we were doing that for a project. If you have more opportunities for me to use that, I would love to do that. So it gives the employee an opportunity to talk about what they need. And another thing it does is it generates data for legal purposes as well. If you've got 3 or 4 people you want to promote, you might go back and read their performance appraisals and see what they say. If you're having difficulty with an employee, is that documented on previous performance appraisals before you terminate them? So these are all things to look at. I often have a supervisor comes down and says, I need to terminate this person because they're not doing their job. I pulled their last performance appraisal and they got excellent on everything. So use those wisely and correctly. So how can you make it easier? First of all, plan. Begin keeping a file on your employees and put a note in there when John does well or Susie had trouble with a customer and you got a complaint. Begin putting those notes in a file. Also, allow the employee to plan for the performance appraisal. Let them know, schedule it with them a week or 2 in advance. And I always give my employees a self-evaluation form, not the same form that you're using for your company, but a form that basically says some things like, what did I accomplish this year? What did I enjoy most about my job? What did I enjoy least about my job? What would I like to add to some of my job requirements? And by doing that, you get the employee involved in the conversation of the performance appraisal. So when you meet with the employee, you go over that form that they filled out, that self form. Then you also go over the form you filled out, and you talk about past issues, past accomplishments, what you've seen them do, what you'd like to see them do better, and then you begin to plan for the future. Some people have even said that it's often good to spend 75% of the time talking about what they want to do next year, because they should have gotten feedback all along about how they're doing the previous year. So think about that as well. Also, I think it's important to give the employee time to read that form and to respond to it. So for my employees, I would typically give them the form and say, or a copy of the form, and say, take this home and read it. You know, think about it. Maybe we want to talk about it again tomorrow for a little bit. So that 30 minutes or so that you spent with them, don't make that the only time that they can see that form and respond to it. By doing some of these things, it makes it a little bit easier. One thing you need to think about yourself as a reviewer is, do you have biases? And you may say, no, I don't have any biases. Well, there's a lot of what we call rater errors. And I'll give you an example of a couple. One is called horns. And this is where the employee has something about them that you don't like. Maybe they went to a rival school than where you went to, and that just really bothers you. Maybe you don't like purple hair, and the employee has purple hair. And that's what's called a horns effect. Neither one of these things have anything to do with the job. And so begin to think about, do I have some of those biases that may be affecting? The other side of that is the halo. Maybe this employee was in the same fraternity or sorority you were, and so you think they're a great person and overlook some things that you should deal with in the performance appraisal. Another rater error is most recent. This employee has been so good the last 2 months. Do you not think they know their performance appraisal is coming up? Well, maybe I'll just ignore the last 10 months because they seem to have done better. Not always so. You need to address the whole year, not just the last couple of months. And this is just a couple of examples of some of those rater errors that you may come in to find. So with a little planning and careful consideration, the mystery of the performance appraisal can be solved. See it as a time where you and the employee have a time to look back, but more importantly, to look forward as to how they can grow and improve in their skills in the coming year.